Hello, planning posse people! Woohoo! Flora Sage here, and I want to welcome you to another bonus interview. Yay! And this month, I am so pumped. I am so excited to introduce you to Vicky Olubi. Welcome, Vicky.
Woo! Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay! So, Vicky, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and who you serve?
So, I am Vicky Olubi, and I run multiple businesses. So, I run an education business for children who are preparing for the school entrance exams in the UK. I also run a hair care business for women with curly and afro textured hair. And I'm also a business coach as well, and a mentor, and a best-selling author. So I do a few things.
Nice. So you have a lot on your plate, kind of.
I do, yeah. I'm constantly juggling like 50 things at the same time.
Nice. Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, okay, so obviously I'm sure you have a lot of experience about planning and trying to keep all of these balls juggling in the air and being able to really focus on certain things at certain times. So why don't you share with us your experience about planning in the past, what you've tried, what's worked, what hasn't worked. Share with us all of that experience that you've had.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first started my business, I had no business experience at all. I was literally just kind of winging it, and I was just, I threw myself into business. I had no idea what I was doing. I was about 22 at the time. So I had no plan in place. I would just, receive a call from a client, take the call. I would answer calls at all times of the day. I would write a blog post whenever I felt like it. Everything was done sporadically because there was no structure and because I had no idea about business. So as a result of kind of overworking myself, and getting to the point where I was working, 7 days a week, literally 24/7, I soon realized that I needed to have systems in place and create a schedule, one that would allow me to not just work but to also enjoy life, because I love business, I love what I do, but we all need to have a life as well. So I had to create that balance, and for me a huge part of that was learning to plan, learning to schedule, and have systems in place to make things easier for myself.
Yeah. So why don't you share with us one of those pivotal experiences, or actually the pivotal experience when you actually knew that you had to implement some type of planning, something in your life and in your business so that you can really keep everything focused?
Yeah, absolutely. So there were a few key experiences and key things that I went through on a personal level. So one day I remember coming home from work and it was midnight, and I was on the bus in London, and there was a fight on the bus. And I remember thinking, I'm on public transport at midnight coming home from a client's house and realizing I shouldn't be working at this time. I should have a proper system in place so that by 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. I'm back home. So that was one of those moments where I realized this can't continue. I can't keep doing that. From that moment onwards, I began to do things differently. So, for example, I began saying no to clients who wanted me to work late. I began to only work a few days per week rather than working 7. I, in fact, switched to about 4 days per week, and then I reduced it to 3 days.
Nice.
Actually made more money doing that. That was the ironic thing. I tripled my income by doing that.
Yay!
Yeah. So it just goes to show that having the systems in place is one of the best things for your business, especially in terms of getting organized and planning. And I also had a few other things happen. Like my mum was, she had like a bit of a health scare at one point, and it was a really scary experience to have to go through, because we're very, very close. And that was probably one of the biggest moments where I realized I need to spend time with my family. I can't constantly be working all the time, and I need to slow down. I need to make sure that business is not everything in my life. It's part of my life, and it's a huge part of my life, but I also need to have other areas of my life that I can attend to just as much as I attend to business.
Yeah.
That experience was at the time very, very difficult for me. But it was probably the biggest wake-up call in terms of making me realize that I needed to get my life together. I needed to get things sorted out, because on the surface I looked like someone who was really successful, achieving all these wonderful things, but I was doing so in the most chaotic way possible. So I literally did things differently from that moment onwards. I hired a VA. I started using apps and websites that allowed me to schedule things in. So things like Hootsuite.
Yep.
I just started to figure out how can I actually get myself more organized and more on planning and make it a part of my life so that things run smoother.
Nice. So why don't you share with us some of the systems that you use? So Hootsuite, that's so good for social media. So what are some of the other things that you do on a daily basis that help you stay focused?
Yeah, so one thing I began to do, and one thing I realized, and I think I realized this, I learned it early on, but I didn't implement it until, further into my business. And I wish I'd implemented it sooner. But I remember meeting Laura Roda, who was one of the co-founders. Yes, I met her a couple of years ago back in London.
Oh, cool.
And which was amazing. She's incredible, like one of my biggest business inspirations. She's an person. And she said to me, have one day, even one day a month, where you churn out all your blog posts, you write all of them in that day, and then you systematize them so that you're not having to write them sporadically. And she told me that, and I didn't implement it because I was so busy running around.
Yeah.
And then when stuff started to happen, I decided, okay, one day every week, or at the very least, one day every 2 weeks, dedicate it just to marketing. So maybe one day a week that's dedicated purely to marketing. So all forms of marketing are done on that day. So for me, that day is usually a Monday where I sit down, I answer any business related emails, I write all blog posts, I put them into Hootsuite, or I started using Meet Edgar recently as well.
I love Meet Edgar. Yes, so
really
good.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I schedule everything in, so I know my blog content is all in for the entire month. And in fact, I did for one of my businesses, my hair care business. I scheduled all my content in for an entire year a few weeks ago. Yeah,
nice, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So I was like, no more blog posts for 2017, all scheduled in. I don't have to worry about it at all. So that was, just one of those things that just makes you feel so relieved because it's all done. So I started doing things like that. And then I would dedicate, let's say, Tuesday or Wednesdays to something else in my business. Like, there's marketing, but there's also advertising. Doing things like Google AdWords, because I run an education business. So a lot of my advertising is really, on the ground. It's sort of like grassroots, speaking to people. So I started to dedicate Tuesdays to answering phone calls, working on things like SEO, really focusing on the money generating side of my businesses, so that I'm not just doing the work, like I'm not just serving clients or serving customers, I'm still bringing in more revenue by attracting more people.
Nice. That's awesome. Wow. So what would you say, and we're totally going off script here, what would you say is the best planning tool that you use, hands down?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think my biggest one that I love right now, and I've loved this for a while, is Google Docs. Like all of the Google stuff, I love Google, all the templates they have, everything. It's amazing. Like I use Google for everything. So I think Google is one of the best things.
Nice.
And they also have Google Keep, which I use for notes.
Ooh.
And it allows you to decorate your notes in a nice, pretty kind of way.
Oh, nice.
So I love Google Keep as well. So
awesome.
Yeah, Google, the bomb.
Oh, yay! That's exciting. How fun. Well, so it sounds to me like you've really put a lot of work and a lot of dedication in really thinking about your business and the days that you're more creative and the days that you're more focused on clients and these other things. And I love hearing how you schedule, okay, so this day I do this, and this day I do this, and this day I do this, and I only work 3 days a week and everything like that. I work 4 days a week, and I'm thinking, how can I pare down so I can just, because I take clients right now 3 days a week, and I've been thinking about paring it down to just doing 2, days per week. So you're acting as a huge inspiration for me. Yay, thank you.
Yeah, go for 3 days. It's so good. Just work 3 days a week.
So excited. Well, and I also do my blog content. So I like one day out of the year, I actually create all of my blog topics, and then
Okay.
I always create my blog posts. Like this month, I'm already creating them for the next month. And so I usually spend
Uh,
the first week writing them, and then the second week I film them because I do like a corresponding video. I'm really good, I think, in video. I haven't been as consistent in writing my blog posts, and that's one of the things this year is that I'm writing the blog first and kind of using that as the script for my video. And then I go in and I prep my emails for the very next month. And so by the end of the second or third week of the month, all the stuff for the next month is over. But I really would love to get it done all in the first week of the month so that I don't have to
yeah.
worry about it. And I love hearing how you do the same thing, is that you're like, okay, let's do this, although it takes me a week. Not, one day, which is really good. One of the other things that I just recently implemented this year is to take 1 week off every single month where I can actually work on my business instead of in my business. And
I
that's
love that.
been crazy amazing. It's like, I didn't think I could do it, but then I started doing it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And now I can't imagine my business without it.
Yeah, that's so important because so many business owners work, they're constantly working in their business and they're not actually thinking about the bigger picture things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much revenue do you want to make? How many clients do you want to work with this year?
Mm-hmm.
These things you should be thinking about at least once a month, like you said. So
Yeah.
I love the idea of spending 1 week of the month, of every month, just working, on your business
Mm-hmm.
because that makes a huge difference
Yeah.
to you do. And it was about, I think, 2 years ago for me, I think it was 2015,
Mm-hmm.
I was, or maybe it was 2014, but that was one of the first years where I started to slow down. And at the time I was working maybe 3 days a week or so. I started to move towards the 3 day a week model, and I spent a lot more time working on the bigger things in my business, like mapping out how much I wanted to make, and working on those things that eventually sort of allow you to grow your business.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first year where I had I think it was my first like 15K month or something like that,
Yay.
and that was the first time I ever experienced anything like that in my business. And then the year afterwards, I doubled that. So
Mm-hmm.
it was just because I wasn't working in my business so much. I was actually working on the things that mattered. And that's so important as a business owner.
Yeah, and I love that you share that because a lot of people, they're so caught up in the day-to-day tasks and the working in the business that they don't really think about the importance of working on the business. And that's one of the reasons why I started the Planning Posse, is because that gives you time to actually work on your business, to really look at and reflect, okay, what are my yearly goals? What are my quarterly goals? What is my monthly goal? And how did my goals from last month shape up? Did I actually follow through? Was I consistent in the things that I said I was going to do? And how did, when life was thrown in the mix, how did it kind of shake out, and how did it actually end up? And I love that you mentioned that you're just like, it's been a process, 3 years ago, it's been a process, and you've been able to fine tune it. You've been able to really make this 3 day a week thing work. And in doing so, you've tripled your income. And that's the thing, is that when you actually say, this is what I'm going to do, these are the days that I'm going to work, and you actually make a commitment to yourself, what happens is you begin to get laser focused. You're so much more focused in those time blocks and those periods that you are working, so that when you're off working, or like not working, your mind and your energy are freed up for those creative things, those creative solutions, if you will, to your business problems. Because so many times people think that they need to sit and just really hammer it out and really think, okay, how can I do this? And the more you do that, the worse it gets.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're always like that. I'm like that. I sit there sometimes and I go, okay, if I sit there and I work on this, I'm going to see more results. And often, in fact, pretty much every single time, I've noticed that when I left business for a moment and I did something else, magic happened. And that was, even with my students, I teach them the same thing. When you're stuck on a question and you can't find the answer, look away, walk away, move away, do something else, and the answer will come to you.
Yes.
And I started to find that in business, that was exactly what was happening to me. The moment I was doing something else, or the moment I was working on my business rather than in my business, magic started to happen.
Nice.
And I thought, I need to continue doing this.
Nice. Nice. I love it. So share with us some type of pivotal experience that you've had, or I'm sorry, your biggest, well, okay, this is kind of stemming from that pivotal experience, but that biggest lesson learned that you've had in your life and in your business while you've been kind of going through all of these things, and you've been working to create harmony, and you've been working to put these systems in place. What is that biggest lesson learned in this planning journey that you've had?
There have been so many. It's hard to pick one, but I think one of the mantras, one of the things I always tell myself every day, virtually every day, is that what we think is what we become. So I always try to create an environment that is that's very conducive to success, in terms of mapping out, visualizing all of the things that I want to achieve in any given day or any given month. So I usually do this at the beginning of every month as well. I create a Pinterest board, and I visualize down all of the things that I want to achieve in that particular month. And it's so eerie that virtually every single thing I put down happens.
Nice.
Yeah, that's something that I started doing, and people say it's sort of woohoo and is it really going to work? But then I started doing it, and it's worked so well for me. Nice. So that's probably one of the biggest kind of light bulb moments for me, is realizing that you must visualize, you must think positively, you must literally picture your success, so that when it happens, you've already pictured it, you already know what it's going to feel like, you've already almost experienced it because you were ready for it. You prepared yourself mentally for that level of success. So that's something that I do every single month now. I try to make a habit, because obviously as a business owner, you grow, and every month your goals grow, they change, they develop, they evolve. So I think it's very, very important to make sure that every month you have almost like a new vision board or a new Pinterest board that represents what you want to achieve in that particular month, so that you can spend each day or each week or each month focusing on the things on that board and actually make them happen.
Nice. Nice. So when you do this, do you focus on strictly business, or do you put in life stuff as well?
I have to, I did both.
Oh, nice.
And I sort of started doing this it was a good few years ago, and I think I was, at the time I was reading a lot of things by Leonie Dawson.
Yes.
So a lot of the shiny life, visualization things. So I tried to change and kind of adapt my own approach and use Pinterest instead. So I created a board initially for life and for business, and I still do that now. So I have boards. The life ones are more sort of general, because my life goals will be maybe annual rather than on a monthly basis.
Right.
But the business ones are monthly. And they're secret, so only I can see them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I haven't gone onto Pinterest yet, and I've had so many people say, you need to get onto Pinterest. And I'm like, no, because I'm so like, oh, shiny, look at this. I would probably spend all day on it.
Yeah, that was me when I first started. I would spend all day on Pinterest, and I'd be like, oh, that's so pretty. Oh, that's so nice. Oh, I want that. And then you find yourself living on Pinterest. So it can be very, very addictive. But I think if you use it in a way, literally give yourself 15 minutes in the week to use it, and just use it for visualization, then that's the best way to use it. But if you use it for fashion and makeup and hair, you'll be there forever, because you won't be able to get out.
Yes. That is so true. That is so true. So I know that you've touched on this previously, but let's just look at it a little bit further. How have you really created this harmony in your life and your business? You mentioned that you work 3 days a week and that you're very focused on these things and that things, but share with us a little bit more. Like, have you found that this is kind of like a two-part question, first being, how do you create harmony in your life and your business? But also secondly is, in those times where you're not working in your business, like you're actually not even on the clock, you're just like doing whatever, and then all of a sudden a business thing comes in, how do you handle that? Like, do you take notes, or do you give yourself permission to just write it down, or just forget about it, and if it's important it's going to come back, or share? Because that's I think the biggest struggle is people trying to maintain this harmony or this feeling of balance, of, especially when you're in your business. It's easy to work 24/7. It's easy to just feel like you have to work all the time, and scaling back and saying, no, this is my schedule. These are the time blocks I'm going to be working. This is when I'm going to answer email. This is from here to here. This is when I'm here, Monday through whatever, or Tuesday through whatever. How do you create that harmony, and how can you kind of let go of that feeling? Because some people feel guilt, like when they're not working, oh my God, I should be working, and that whole thing. I mean, I know that's kind of a big question, but this is a big topic for a lot of people.
Yeah, completely. I completely agree with you. And I love that question because it's very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing in terms of harmony, I create harmony by having different tools in place that help me to make my life easier.
Mm-hmm.
I also create harmony by not being afraid to spend on a few things that make life easier. So in my case, I have a receptionist who answers my phone.
Yay.
And it's not expensive, but it's something that makes my business look professional.
Nice.
And yes, it costs me money, but it's so worth it because it means that, my business is still making money. I'm still getting inquiries and leads, and I don't have to pick up the phone every single time. So that's just one of the key ways I create harmony in my business, is having, investing in the things that make my life easier.
Nice.
So things like a receptionist, several times I've hired a VA. At one point I had a blog content creator, although now I do my own blog posts because I batch create them, so it's fine. I don't need to outsource that anymore. But yeah, doing those things, and also working in a way that makes me happy. So if I am going to be doing something, like if I am doing some marketing or doing some SEO work or changing my website, I like to do it in a way that makes me happy. So I'll put music on, or I'll light some candles, or I'll make it fun and relaxing so it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
So it feels enjoyable. And I might even have like a film on in the background, or a documentary.
Nice.
So I'm still doing something enjoyable and fun, and I'm creating the work I need to create. And I do this a lot when I'm writing books as well, because I've published 14 books.
Oh, yay! That's impressive. Wow.
Yeah. So I often write my books whilst I'm listening to fun music, or just relaxing and enjoying myself, and still producing the content that I need to produce and create.
Nice.
And in terms of the second question, I'm trying to remember what it was now. Yes, how do I deal with those moments where business still pops up anyway? And it does pop up. I was out and about earlier on. I was in the gym, and my receptionist sent me a text to say, you've got to call this person back. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I have to do something business related. So it was a reminder, obviously, that I needed to get back to business. But what I do now is I'm not afraid to put my phone on airplane mode, so that I don't have to handle inquiries. I literally just put it on airplane mode, sometimes for 5 hours in the day, so I can have that time to myself. Sorry, I've just had I don't know what's come up on my phone.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. We can still hear you. Yay.
Yes.
Okay, you're back.
But so I literally just put my phone on airplane mode, and I only respond to clients during business hours. Nice. So I now treat my business like a company, whereby you can't call a company at midnight and they answer. You know that they will only pick up between 9 and maybe 5. Yeah. So I do the same thing. Business calls are handled between 9 and 5. They're not handled at 7, 8, 9, 10. Right. When I first started my business, I would handle calls at all hours. I'd respond to emails at all hours, and now I don't do that. I respond, on a day where I feel, I have the time to respond at some ungodly hour, I might do that. But for the most part, I tend to respond to my business emails, my calls, anything business related during business hours. Nice. And I think that's something that all business owners should do, because many of us, we're working on our own, and we have clients or we have customers, but we're catering to them 24/7,
Mm-hmm.
and there are no barriers in place, there are no boundaries. And it means that those clients and customers don't respect you because they expect you to be able to answer their calls and their texts and their emails at all hours. And that shouldn't be
Yes.
the case, because in the real world, in the non-online business world, you call between 9 and 5. You do not call a business at 9 and expect them to answer the phone, because they won't.
Yeah. I love that you said that because that's so true. I mean, oh my gosh. And for years I struggled with that because when I first started, I was in the same boat you were. It's just like you just 24/7. And I was working a full-time job and I was building my business. And so I had 2 full-time jobs and I was getting burnt out. I'm going, oh my gosh, I can't do this. And I learned I had to put in those boundaries in place. And at first I felt really bad. I'm going, oh my God, they're going to hate me and all this other stuff. And I'm like, no. I can't call my dentist at 2 in the morning. Well, I don't know. Maybe I could because he's my dentist. But I mean, no. You have those set parameters for every other business. Is no. These are their hours.
Okay.
Mine are 9 until 3. Like those, if you want to contact me, 9 to 3. Otherwise, send me an email or whatever. But and actually, my phone is reserved only for my coaching clients.
Okay,
and
brilliant.
everybody else, I want everything to be funneled through email, so I have a written document of it. Because in today's society and with how much all the information that's coming in, I want it written down so that for one, I can remember it, but two, for accuracy too. And if there's ever a question, I always go back to those emails and I'm like, okay, what was said? What was agreed upon? All these other things, and plus also, it's just kind of. That's what feels good for me, is to have everything go through email. And I've had a lot of people.
As well, from a legal perspective, when you're running a business, the law type of things and the legal things do come up. So actually having everything done by email is really smart because it shows that you have written evidence of things.
Yes.
So I think that's good that you do that. That's great. I need to start doing that.
Yeah, well, and I love that you have a receptionist because my business coach, he's always like, you need to have an 800 number or something. I'm like, no, I want everything to go through email. For some reason, and that just feels better for me. I love the idea of having a receptionist. I'm like, oh, that sounds so fancy. But yeah, I agree. That's so professional.
Yeah.
But to me, it feels better to have everything just go through email. And so I love that you brought up that you have a receptionist and that although it sounds cool for me, I feel that it's better for me to have everything go through email. And that's the beauty of it, is that what works for one business might not work for somebody else and vice versa. And that's the thing with all these people here in the planning posse is we have a whole bunch of different types of businesses and some people that are just like not a, business owner. And so I love that we're being able to share our experiences and what works and what feels good for us. Because ultimately that's what you need to do as a business owner, is do what feels good and do what feels in flow with who you are now in your business. Because who you are now in your business is going to change. As you learn, as you age, as you have wisdom, and as you experience different types of clients, that experience with you on the bus, that's kind of scary. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was scary. At the time, it was like, oh my gosh. It was one of those kind of moments. Yeah, I was petrified.
No
but
kidding.
It was a turning point for me. So looking back, I'm really grateful for the experience because it made me change so much in my business. And it made me think more long term, because I think at the time I was thinking day to day, how can I make money? How can I serve clients and make as much as I can?
Yeah.
And that moment made me realize you need to think about 6 months from now, a year from now, 5, 10 years from now, rather than thinking about your business just on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
Because if your business model or your life or the way you structure your life does not, if it's not set out in a way that allows you to do this on a long-term basis, then you need to look into it. And I was in that position where I needed to evaluate what I was doing and make big changes.
Wow, I love it. Oh my gosh, I could talk to you for hours. You're so amazing. I love your perspective, and I love the insights that you give, and I love that you just shared that it's not just about today. It's not just about this week. It's about the month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. A lot of people don't like to plan for 5 years, but it's important.
It is. Yeah. It's vital. I think especially as women, and I know it sounds a bit sexist, but for women many of us are wives, we're mothers, we have, a whole family to look after.
Yeah.
And if thinking about your business on a day-to-day basis,
Mm-hmm.
it seems cozy and it seems fine. But, if something does happen, you have to consider the fact that if something in your life happens, if something changes, is your business going to be able to, get through that period of time? So for me, that was one of the key things as well that made me realize, yeah, this isn't going to work. If I have 4 kids, I can't be on a bus in the middle of the night trying to get home. It won't work.
Yeah.
So I need to make these changes now.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. Yeah, I'm a mom. I'm a single mom of 2 kids. They're 21 and almost 18. And yeah, and
21 and an 18-year-old. Oh my God.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, and so like building my business, I was going to college and then, working and then doing my business and then having a family. And I'm like, oh my goodness, and it's a lot to juggle. And yeah, you have to start thinking, what's long term. And one of the things I always felt was I want to build my business. I want to build the foundation for my business so that when they're grown, when they have finished school and they're flying the coop, I'm going to be young enough still to be able to do what I want to do in my business. I could go on the speaking circuit or whatever it is I want to do. But I knew I wanted to do the foundational pieces of my business. And I've only written 6 books, but a couple more are on the way. I'm kind of working on them in the background. And I've done, some meditation albums, and I've got an online membership site, and I've done some card decks and stuff like that. And I've got more things that I'm planning. But that was kind of more of like that nitty-gritty work of that deep self work, because I'm a spiritual coach and an intuition expert and everything. And so these are the things that I wanted to put in place while they were still young. Mm-hmm. Well, for one, to build my chops as a teacher and as a coach, but then also to really just build the foundation of my business, to show people that I am consistent in my teachings and in my work. And that's the thing, is that a lot of people, when you see a business pop up, how long have they been in business? What is their mission? Why are they here? Are they just here to make a fast buck, or are they really committed to growth? And that's the thing, that these systems, when you put them in place, they show that you're committed to growth because you're consistent. You're consistently posting and sharing newsletters with your tribe and posting on social media. And it's not just one of those businesses that posts, one thing every month, or, maybe you get a newsletter, maybe there's a blog post once a year, once every 3 months or something. And these systems actually create that solid foundation so your business will last for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And you can leave that lasting legacy not only to the people that work with you and that are in your business funnel, but also to your kids, because that's something that if your kids all of a sudden say, oh my gosh, Mom, this is awesome, I love these hair care products, they take over the business for you whenever you choose to retire. I mean, what a beautiful thing.
Exactly. That would be amazing. I didn't even think of that. That's so true. Yay. And you're completely right. When you have these systems in place, it creates longevity in your business. And I think it makes you look so much more professional and respectable as a business, because people see that you're out there on a consistent basis. Yes. And you're showing that you are a consistent person. Yeah. So it's so important.
Yeah. Well, and that's also peace of mind for the person, because are they, is this person going to be around for a long time? Especially if all of a sudden you just show up in somebody's timeline, you have no idea who they are. Like, I was introduced to Laura Roeder probably like 3 years ago. I took one of her online, like a 6-week online class. And I was like, who is this person? And I was like, who is she? And I started researching. I'm like, wow. And I saw that she was a legit business. It wasn't one of those just pop up in the middle of the night businesses claiming all these things. She literally had a track record that I could see, kind of that paper trail, if you will, through blog posts and whatnot. And I've been a huge fan of hers ever since. I popped in to meet Edgar, I was actually in the beta group, and I'm like, this is awesome, and it's one of those things that her consistency sold me. I felt, because I was going to drop a big chunk of change on this class, and I'm like, okay, is she legit, or is she, And that was the thing that really gave me peace of mind as a customer, of saying, okay, she is, because she's got this track record of consistency, and I could see that paper trail. I could see her success trail, and that foundation. And I knew that yes, what she was promising from this program was, I was more than likely going to get it if I chose to do the work, and I did, and
Yeah.
it was amazing. And
Yeah.
that's why I joined Meet Edgar right away. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting a private invitation. This is exciting. And the beta group was cool because we got to show, or like share with them what worked, what wasn't working, what was glitchy, what was confusing, as far as all of the categories and the scheduling and all the other stuff. But that was such a beautiful thing, and that was something that it was such a blessing as a business owner to be able to see somebody like her, who's at the multi-million-dollar level, do a beta test with a group of people. And I'm like, because I had done beta testing before in my business, and I'm not there yet. I'm just in like the multiple six figures, but being able to see how she did a beta test was priceless for me. I'm like, oh, heck yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I will be your guinea pig, And that's something, too, is that as business owners, it's really cool to interview, very successful people like you, especially as a multiple business owner, to see how these systems are put in place, how they work, how they haven't worked, and how you've been able to really create that solid foundation and that solid plan for your business. It's huge.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I love what you said about, discovering Laura Roda and realizing that she was a genuine, entrepreneur because she had that consistency. And, you Google her and you see so many articles and things that come up that date back to like 2000 and I think 2009 or 2008. She has that track record. And I think as a business owner, it's always fantastic to build that, to have evidence that you've been doing this for, whether you might not have been running a business for long, but even if it's been a few months, even if it's been a year, you should still have, a track record for the time you have been running a business. And having systems in place allows you to do that in such an easy way.
Yes. So huge. Well, and I love that you said that word. It is easy. It's so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, these days, I was on Facebook the other day, and you can now schedule your Facebook posts for, for like forever. You could literally just have all of your Facebook content scheduled right in Facebook. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And I'm sure Twitter will roll out the same thing soon, and maybe Instagram will roll out the same thing as well. So you can actually schedule your content for months, if not years to come. So you should just do it and make sure that you have that presence online that's going out every single month, every single week, if possible as well. Mm-hmm. So people know that your business is legit and they will actually want to contact you and want to book you.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and being consistent is so much easier than you think it is, simply by having these systems in place. So much easier. Yeah. And that's been kind of the theme in all the interviews that we've been doing this year, is that a lot of people feel, or, have said that their fear of scheduling or having like a yearly calendar, their fear has been, oh my gosh, is this going to trap me in my business? Am I going to feel creatively stifled? And every single person has said no. When they plan, it just gives them so much freedom, and it makes it so much simpler.
Yeah, it does. And it allows you to have these amazing ideas and to put them down and to map them out. Like, I was looking at my Google Docs yesterday, and I saw my list of blog posts, and I was like, these blog posts are amazing. I'm so excited. I can't wait to write them because they're all mapped out. So I think it actually makes you more creative because you can see what you're producing and you can give every single piece of content your absolute best. Yes. So I think it actually makes you far more creative, not less.
Yay! I love it. Okay, well, that's all the time that we have this month. So why don't you share with us a way that our members can connect with you outside of this interview?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go and find me on Twitter. So if you type @Vicky Olubi and say hi, let me know that you found me through Flora. So do send me a message on Twitter. And also I have a brand new Facebook group, and it's private for business owners, and it's called The Fully Booked Business with Victoria Olubi. So go onto Facebook and type in The Fully Booked Business, and you should hopefully find it, and come say hi again and let me know that you found me through Flora as well, and I'll give you an extra hello.
Yay! Awesome. Well, and for all of you that are watching this bonus interview, all of her links, all of, Vicky's links are going to be down below. So all of social media, all of her websites, so that you can check it out, because I know I'm all about finding new hair care products. So,
Yeah.
yay! Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Vicky, for taking the time out of your schedule to meet with us today.
No, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've had so much fun.
Yay! And this is like the longest interview so far. You're just amazing. I don't want it to end.
Yeah, I could talk about this stuff for days. Like, I love this, and I love what you're doing. It's fantastic. So hopefully this will inspire some women to get planning, get organized, and start scheduling things.
Yeah, well, you've definitely inspired me, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And for all of you Planning Posse members, thank you so, so much for joining us again this month for our bonus Planning Posse interview. Until next time, bye.
Bye, everyone.